And with that, a guy that's never on our bench, Joel Klatt, Fox Sports.
Oh, man.
This is, by the way.
I was going to say, speaking of star power. No?
So, there's a lot. It's an interesting weekend.
Okay, let's go. Let's have at it. It isn't, every weekend.
Okay, so it was last year. I'm sitting on the couch in my very regular neighborhood.
Palatial.
No.
I thought you were about to say palatial.
No. I was
Wait, which house?
Secluded grotto. So anyway, I'm watching Maryland play, and it's Tua's brother. And I'm sitting there. It was early last year, and I'm like, oh, that dude can play.
Yeah.
And so they are now undefeated. They're facing Ohio State, who's been in some big emotional games.
Yep.
I think Ohio State should completely be on upset alert.
I mean, that's interesting because Maryland does throw the ball really well. Talia is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, if not the country, and just no one talks about him.
That's right. I didn't honestly know. I didn't even know the story until last year. I'm on my couch, and I'm like, this kid's good.
Yeah, that's right. And he's comfortable there with Coach Loxley. Their relationship goes all the way back to the Bama days. Remember, Talia originally was kind of a Bama recruit. And Loxley was at Bama, and now their offensive coordinator, Josh Gaddis, also had time at Bama. And it's a little bit of a band back together type of deal. And Talia has
Can they compete here?
Yes, they can. Now, they have traditionally, and this is obvious, been better against Ohio State when they're at home and not as good in the shoe. But this team can throw the ball.
Yes.
And this is one of the areas where I would say there's a question about Ohio State. They have been good defensively up to this point, in particular when you're talking about not giving up the big play. They have yet to give up a play of over 40 yards. In last year's Michigan and Georgia game alone, those two, they gave up 8 plays of 40 yards. So they're getting better in that area, which was a big area of need. But they haven't been stressed, in particular with a great passing game that can be explosive. Talia is thrown for over 300 yards per game. He doesn't turn it over. They throw for a lot of touchdowns. So this is a game where you're going to really see, is Ohio State better on defense? Do they have a defense that can go and compete with a Penn State or a Michigan or even in the playoff and win? Because that's really where they needed to, I would say, get better from a year ago.
Okay, Texas-Oklahoma matchup.
Man, I like this game.
Oh, you do. So, listen.
You don't?
Well, I think Texas is going to win. I think Oklahoma's played Cupcake City. So I think this weekend is
OU fans.
No, I mean, look at the schedule. They got Panera Bread in 2 weeks. Roast beef Tech. Oklahoma's played nobody. Alabama's gone on the road. Bama, they are tested.
Okay, Texas is tested. And listen, Michigan hasn't played anybody. Georgia hasn't played anybody. If you're talking about the standards that now you're viewing Oklahoma. Here's what I would say about this game. I believe Texas is rooted more in substance this year than they have been in previous years.
Oh, for a long time.
They are not a team that is going to play down to the level of their competition. And this is not a game that you would worry about that anyways, right? This is the height of motivation for each program. Last year, Texas won 49-0. Dylan Gabriel for OU did not play in that game. Now, while that can make you feel better if you're an OU fan, the problem is Dylan Gabriel's not worth 49 points.
Yeah.
And this Texas team is a lot better than what they were a year ago.
And they're older and more seasoned in key spots.
I would say at the line of scrimmage, they're real. Let's go back to the Bama game for an example. Why is Texas so much different this year? They walked onto the field with their offense with 7 minutes to play, up 10, I think, in that game. Didn't leave the field and didn't throw a pass. They ran 9 run plays, including the kneel downs, and ran out the clock on Alabama on the road. They're real at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Jonathan Brooks is a really good player.
And by the way, they just found their running back.
They also had 2 sacks in the fourth quarter to close the game out, rushing only 4, no blitz. 7 in pass defense, rushing only 4, get to Jalen Milroe. So you're on the road. You've got to close out Alabama. Right? This is going to be the biggest win in your program's, history in the last decade. Because even the win against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl was kind of just a bowl game, right? Like this is This is the most important game. And what do? They were more rooted in substance. They rushed the passer with 4 and got to him in the fourth quarter, and they could step on the field in the last 7 minutes with their offense and not have to throw a pass. That's why Texas is different. You've still got Ewers and all the flash of Xavier Worthy and all these other guys, but they're more rooted in substance, which makes me believe that this version of Texas is the best version of Texas that we've seen since 2008, 5. Right
I know this. I think I have the better coach, the offensive coach, the better quarterback, and the better offensive line. And now they found a running back. I feel like Texas controls the line of scrimmage.
They do. And they're better at the line of scrimmage than Oklahoma is.
Yes.
Oklahoma, I don't know what they have on the offensive line.
I don't think we know a lot with Oklahoma.
I will tell you this. OU has great skill on the outside. I really love. They've got tall, big, wide receivers. Nick Anderson, Andrell Anthony, transfer from Michigan.
They always have good receivers.
Jalil Farouk. The problem is that Dylan Gabriel is not really a deep ball thrower, and that's kind of what they have from a personnel standpoint.
Yeah.
And he's more of a point guard, a short area, quick decision type of a guy. I like Texas in this game.
So I'm watching USC Colorado last weekend. I did not turn it off. Loyal to the very end.
That a boy.
And Deion Sanders, who's amazing, had a good second half. That throw in the back of the end zone was filthy.
Yeah, it was terrific.
But I had said coaches can't solve their issues, even with the transfer portal in a year. Give Lincoln another year and the defense will be fine. It's not. It's the same. They can't tackle. And in the end, I think one of the hardest things it is to do on a college coaching staff, because you recruit together with the car together. In the NFL, guys go their separate way. You got college coaches and staffs can be young. You're often, as a star coach, bringing up young grad assistants who become position coaches. It's a very close-knit group.
Yeah, you're right.
You often, as a college coach, leave. You take 8 guys with you.
Sure.
The Alex Grinch thing's not working. It's not working, and I know they're friends, but now they've got real NFL players in that front 7, and I'm watching their tackling. I think it's getting worse.
The tackling is a struggle. There's
huge gaps in this secondary.
The secondary is the issue. I believe that the front 7 is decent, even though Colorado ran it fairly well against them. Here's what I'll say. When you struggle, or maybe not even struggle, when you don't, I mean, yes, they don't cover well in the back end. They don't tackle well at the corner position, and they give up way too many big plays because of it. But if you're just looking at a philosophy, I've talked with a lot of coaches. When you're not playing up to the standard you believe, think you should be playing.
It's like SC's got 7 guys on the field.
Well, maybe they did. It's 3 things, Colin. 3 things. It's either coaching, scheme, or personnel. You have to evaluate with clear eyes those 3 areas and be honest with yourself about what the issues are. Now, if we're honest with ourselves, the defensive performance right now for USC is exactly the same defensive performance that we've had under Lincoln Riley dating back all the way to his OU days.
There's no disputing
the numbers are staggeringly similar.
Yes.
Staggeringly similar. So you've got to look at coaching and schematics. Maybe you look at the coaching staff. Maybe you have to look at the scheme. The scheme up front for them has to change. They've got too many players that are dominant players to be moving as much as they do up front. They've stopped doing that a little bit, but they need to stop doing that even more and allow those guys to really play. Guys like Mason Cobb and Bear Alexander.
Yeah, Cobb's good.
Now you've got to look at also, and this is the point that no one wants to bring up. They were up 41-14 in the third quarter of that game. They had 20 snaps on offense with the game clock moving. On average, in the second half, I'm saying, 20 snaps. The average number on the play clock during those 20 snaps was 14.
They're not eating time.
They're not eating time. There's a disconnect between the philosophy to go and win and close out a game and the philosophy of score now numbers. And I'm not suggesting that like Lincoln's got to totally disregard his offensive system, but I am saying that you can buy a lot of time. Let's just say that you took 10 more seconds off on every one of those plays.
You burned 4 minutes off the game.
That's exactly right. You are removing 10, 15, 18 plays from the opposition in a half if you just manage the game clock better and the play clock better. And that can be done. And guess what? You can still have the element of tempo and surprise. You can still have the element of getting vanilla looks on defense by holding in a huddle, then rushing to the line of scrimmage and snapping the ball. You don't have to give them the formation. This whole notion that you can't huddle and you have to go fast. Lincoln Riley is one of the best offensive coaches in America, hands down. If I had one or two guys to pick, like, he's going to call my offensive game plan, I got one game, I got to win it, for my life is on the line, Lincoln's in that conversation, and he might be the guy because I think he's brilliant. But the philosophy in the second half of the 41-14 lead has got to change.
Yeah.
You've got to take some more time off the clock so that you don't have to recover an onside kick at the end in order to win.
Let's look at your top 10. I actually agree with it.
Wow.
I down the line. So you have
moved Georgia down.
I think Michigan's the best team in the country. I think Texas is too. I think they're going to control Oklahoma. I think Georgia, their tight end's one, maybe the best college tight end.
I love their tight end.
He may be the best college tight end I've ever seen.
Yeah, Brock Bowers is
unbelievable.
special. I really like him. Can I give you a quick stat on Georgia and why that's like, hey, there's some caution lights. If there's like a check engine light on the dashboard for Georgia, it's flashing. It's flashing. Georgia in the last 4 seasons, before this year, the last 4 seasons, they were in the top 3 in all of college football in defensive yards per carry allowed. They were dominant up front, weren't they?
Yes.
All those guys are playing for the Eagles. Guess what they are this year? 67th. They're down a full yard in yards per carry on offense. They are not themselves at the line of scrimmage, which means they're going to continue to be in close games throughout the year.
Yeah. I would. I think I really like Penn State. I think Penn State's really interesting.
I think they're dangerous.
So
that quarterback is really good.
I think
their defense is good.
I don't know exactly what Lou Holtz said. It's getting everybody worked up. I don't love Ohio State. I'd put Penn State above Ohio State.
Okay.
Florida State, we'll see. I think Washington's good. Everybody's sleeping on Oregon because USC and Washington's offenses are so great. Well,
That's right.
Bo Nix is going in the first round, folks. And by the way, Franklin, that Tony Franklin kid.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving. By the way, Oregon is the middle child of the Pac-12. No one talks about them, and yet they're probably the more balanced,
they are.
more sound team than either Washington or USC.
Go ask Colorado about moving the ball on Oregon.
It's very difficult.
So I think
in particular, last week, Arizona played a one-possession game with Washington. It was a kind of a blueprint. How do you slow down Washington? Remove possessions from the game. They didn't allow them the big plays. They removed snaps.
By the way, for the record, Harbaugh's fascinating because he's done everything at Michigan. He's gotten them into the playoffs. He now dominates Ohio State. He's done great in recruiting. He's got one thing left. Win the Natty.
Yeah.
I am interested. So we know they're good. Just take me inside how, Michigan State's now a mess. Ohio State is behind Michigan. So, he's checked every single box.
Yeah, he has.
It's just a natty, and this is the year because Georgia and Bama are down.
That's the thing.
So here's my thing. Just throw it out there. I'll throw it out there. Let's say he wins the natty. I'm rooting for him. I think it's great. I love both him and Sark. I think it'd be great. And I do think they're the best team. Their quarterback's playing
excellent.
He really good plays. Finally got an NFL dude. Where he goes in the draft, who knows? Does he stay? And here's why I'll throw it out at you. Aspirational men may not be grudge holders, usually are, but they never forget. And they made him take a pay cut. And they pushed back a couple times. If he wins the natty, you don't think he'd get Chargers move on? You don't think he's getting a phone call?
The thing is that every NFL opening, I think he's going to be in the top 3 names on the list.
I would hope.
Yeah.
I'd go to if Chicago got Caleb Williams.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows if Caleb would go.
But his personality, what do you think? His father lives right next to him.
Yeah,
so the grandkids, there's a lot of family stuff here that works. I hope he doesn't leave because I love him in college football.
A lot at play here.
A lot.
Okay, and so I don't think that just a simple answer will do. Number one is he is a very competitive person.
Very.
And he has succeeded everywhere he's been.
Including the NFL.
Obviously. Look at what San Francisco was when he was there. 3 straight NFC championship games, a loss late in a Super Bowl. And that's the element of, as a competitive guy, do you think in the back of his mind, he thinks to himself, man, we were that close to winning a Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback. And I wonder if the competitive juices would get him to go. Now, I don't want to see him leave college football because I love college
don't either.
football.
No, I think, listen, the NFL doesn't need him.
That's right.
College football,
this is great.
Him against USC, him against UCLA. God, I can't wait to watch that.
The dynamic with him and his leadership at Michigan is interesting.
I don't like that word.
I believe that there is some tension, and it's the reason why the president had to jump in and do the new contract.
I don't like that at all. You can find another AD. There's another accountant somewhere in the Midwest. I'm sorry. I'm not getting rid of the president, and I'm not getting rid of Harbaugh. Nothing against ADs, but I can make a few phone calls.
I just know that there's some tension. And by the way, it has seeped into this self-imposed suspension to the beginning of this year.
Please explain.
Well, he had a self-imposed suspension.
Right.
Michigan suspended him.
Do you think he wanted to do that?
Of course not.
Okay,
that's why his players had a free Harbaugh shirt on.
Okay.
Because they're not taking a shot at the NCAA.
By the way,
think about that,
go
right?
To your LinkedIn,
just read between the lines.
Help wanted Ann Arbor. Let's put it on LinkedIn today. Listen, you can't move. This guy has done everything for this program.
I don't disagree.
I think Michigan, I don't know what the numbers say, outside of like Colorado and Deion, to me, Michigan is the watch in college football. Caleb, Michigan, and Deion. That's the watch.
I mean, Ohio State has something to say about that. Everyone watches Ohio State games. It's fascinating. You bring up the Deion phenomenon. Everyone's like, stop talking about Deion. Every game Colorado has played this year, every single game that they've played, breaks the Pac-12 record for television audience.
So years ago,
everyone that they've played.
Years ago, when Tiger Woods was becoming a star, and he'd won his juniors in Portland, and at this time I was golfing a lot, but I won a handicap, no reason to talk about it, but a little bit of a slice off the tee. But the point being...
never met a one that has a slice.
Okay.
Maybe a fade or a cut.
Okay.
Not a
so
slice. I
would go out golfing, and as America's Honesty broker in Portland, people would come up, and they would always be going, all you do is talk about Tiger. And I'm like... Yeah, because the rest of the dudes in bad slacks ain't moving the meter. So my argument was Tiger wasn't over-marketed. He was appropriately marketed. There's a lot of stuff at Fox we promote. Deion's not over-promoted. He's appropriately. When you break records, you're not over-promoted or over-marketed. I think it would be... I thought when we were doing the TCU Deion thing, I'm like, this is a little over the top. It's going to be a blowout. And then I saw the numbers, and I'm like, shame on Fox for not promoting it enough. I was like, the numbers beat Texas, Bama.
Yes.
What is going on?
It's wild. There is a bit of a Tiger phenomenon in that I believe that he is not just aggregating the existing college football market. He is aggregating a different sector of sport fan that is now interested in not only Colorado, but college football, which is great for the sport. You want to talk about guys like Jim Harbaugh and guys like Deion Sanders. They are unbelievable for the sport writ large of college football. And this is why I actually bristle at some of these coaches that are like, I don't like Jim, I don't like Deion. Why? They're great for you. It's like when Phil Mickelson is like, hey, I love Tiger.
Of course.
There's nobody that's made me more money in my life than Tiger Woods.
Mark O'Meara always got that.
That's
the
right.
smart guys on the tour were like, the purses have tripled.
Quadrupled.
Of course Tiger was great for golf.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.